Wait till we start Skyping you in on this, and we have cameras too.
Oh my
That's
word.
the way I've been doing. Hi everybody in the chat room. Hello. Well, the way I've been doing the wonky donk with Jackie and I. We've been doing dual Skype sessions and hammering it together. It's a good time. So
Well, it sounds hot when it's you two.
it is. It quite frankly is. It gets 50. It was carry the two. It's 100% hotter when Jackie's on. There you go.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So there we go. Hi, chat room. Hold on 1 second. I got to call this up. And which computer is this on? Oh, yeah. Uh-oh.
You go live in 60.
Excellent.
That's my Aldi fizzy water.
Okay, is that what that was?
Yep.
Like, crack the tubes. Let's see. Oh, there's the little hum is back. Your little hum is back a little bit.
Yeah.
What is that?
Is it low or really high?
It's really low, kind of I'm kind of feeling it's like relaxing almost. Almost.
Well, I'm battling against my central heater and a dryer right now.
Oh, I
so
think
I can do some muting.
No, I think that's what. Yeah, that does it. So it's
So
definitely.
when I'm not chiming in, I'll mute.
I would say eat the microphone and turn it down a little bit. That'll probably fix it. I don't know. We'll ask the chat room. They'll help us. Hi, chat room.
I have come here to chew bubblegum and kick ass.
Uh-oh, it's a show.
All out of bubblegum.
Live exclusively for WCPT in Chicago, standing up and speaking out, here's Hal Sparks.
Good morning, everybody. So technically, I guess, at this point, we're back to abnormal? Is that going to be the phrase? Is that how we're going to address this?
Definitely, yeah.
The dust up that came from the Iranian assassination of Soleimani, which can I just dive into my most evil self for a moment? I was talking to the lovely and talented Jackie Schechner about this last week, and it would seem to me, if you had any brains at all as a human being who had achieved the level of presidency, or even someone who could whisper in the president's ear, those folks who have gotten to a level where they've earned the right to be the person who gives the president advice. You would hope, I suppose, that it would be you'd be a very intelligent person, or at least clever enough to fool everyone. These are the two.
That's not been the case.
No, not recently, and certainly not during the Bush administration. God knows, in terms of Middle East policy. But in looking at the killing of Soleimani, the airstrike that hit him, and the inability to tell the difference, both in the cabinet people surrounding the president and the president himself, that there is a distinct difference between killing a terrorist with no home state and killing a leader of another country while they're on foreign soil, and what that does to the legal ramifications of someone doing that to one of our people or an ally's government official in future, right? That would be the primary concern, and why we do have rules of engagement and rules of war a lot of times is because
bad things never happen to us.
That's right. Yes, clearly. The distinction protects your people, and when it doesn't, you have both moral authority and political recourse in terms of dealing with other allies that you may have to bring pressure to bear on the country that does the acting, does the assassination or the murder or what have you. Now, we know that Donald Trump is a huge fan of Vladimir Putin. He envies Kim Jong-un and the ability to just kind of dust off people once he's tired of them, or if they stand between him and what he wants. And Putin just sent assassins to kill somebody on the streets of Berlin. He obviously sent people to kill people in England, and this is not Iraq reforming itself. These are fully functioning, in quotes, I suppose, sometimes, Western countries, where it would allegedly be a situation, or it would be presumed to be a situation where you would ratchet up the potential for violence by doing such a thing.
Right.
And a lot of that goes unnoticed. Nobody seems to care. There seems to be a real issue with letting him get away with it. There is I think Trump is learning a lesson from these guys, and is envious of their ability to sort of get away with this stuff, which is why you try to have an international standard that reaches across a broad swath of the world. And when it came to killing Soleimani, he regarded it, like a couple of the people around him, as the same as killing al-Baghdadi, or one of those folks. And it's just a terrorist. We're just naming him a terrorist. And there's no question this guy had it coming, not just from us, but from a myriad of Iraqis. The Israelis would like to see this guy gone. No one is mourning this guy being removed from the earth. It's how and with what strategy to protect people around that area of the world and solidify American security that did you have in place when this happened? Because there's a huge difference between, there's going to be blowback when you kill a terrorist. His organization is going to want revenge. The followers of al-Baghdadi definitely would, if they could, push back against us and kill people in retribution for that death. But it's different when you have an actual nation state. And it's also very different when the guy was a part of the Iranian Revolution. He's been around for a long time. He's not one of their Pez dispenser leaders that happened to, show up both in ISIS and Al-Qaeda and other organizations where, there's always a guy waiting in line. Sometimes they kill their own person. It's not that kind of a situation. This guy's been entrenched. He was he almost had like a folk hero status within Iran to some degree. And so, again, not that getting rid of him is wrong on whole cloth. The issue is, what do you have in place to make sure that anything that follows up, or that you at least have some sort of some fallback with the international community, then they're not going to go, oh, hey, so we've noticed you've started murdering the military leaders of other countries, sovereign countries, not just terrorist organizations, when they're in another country. How far does that stop? And how does that go? How do you what's the standard now? And the standard seems to be, according to some of the people we've had on TV lately from the administration and in articles, that it's bad actors from bad countries. Well, define that. Holy smokes, right? We'll talk about a lack of legal definition in that circumstance. But here's me being completely evil. You ready?
Do it.
Okay. In the car with Soleimani was a Hezbollah leader and a leader of an Iraqi military group, like a militia, that had been fighting against the establishment in Iraq, trying to destabilize the government, and had, he was this guy who coordinated the roadside bombing thing. So he was in a vehicle with two other guys who learned from him, got material support from him, got money from him, got weapons in theory, those kind of things, and those elements, him being in the, they were relying on this guy to get them those things. To me, if I was thinking strategically and not worried about my own ego, the U.S., according to strikes it's made before, has the complete right, and the Israelis would have the same similar ability legally to strike that vehicle to kill the Hezbollah leader or the leader of the Iraqi militia group who was causing trouble and killing people. And Soleimani could have been collateral damage in your messaging. You would have gotten him, but you would have had to, in secret, say, yeah, we meant to get him, and we lucked out that those two guys were in, but you publicly talk about it the opposite way. You come out and go, yeah, we were trying to hit this Hezbollah leader and this other guy who was coordinating IED. Why was your guy in the car with him?
Yeah.
And then the Iranians have no moral pushback. They're in trouble on the international stage. It makes it harder for them to argue that this was an extrajudicial strike, any of those things. It becomes one of those things like you bust open the door on a place in Mar-a-Lago and near Mar-a-Lago, and there's a bunch of Trump's friends who happen to be in the place that gets busted. That kind of thing. This extra ability to go, oh, we didn't mean to do that, but look at the company he kept. What are you doing, Iran? And then you have the entire international community supporting you. You don't have the ratchet up of the military stuff, which led to the downing of that plane. And in response, the Iranian government, Khomeini, apparently guiding his own response, this idea of his own version of I'm in the war room telling them what to hit. And what was the ultimate response? They fired some missiles that hit nothing. They blew up a plane full of people that were doing business with their country or their own citizens, a mix of those folks. And they trampled to death 75 people at the funeral of Soleimani. The death toll in Iran from the Iranians eclipses anything the Americans could have done in this regard, as far as military, besides all-out war. Like, we've struck. Think about some of the the strategic strikes we made in Iraq at certain times, where we blew up a facility and killed fewer than 75 people.
Sure. Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, the death toll from just their reaction to this is not very promising for the Iranian people. We got to take a break. We'll be back. It's the Hal Sparks radio program, Mega Worldwide on WCPT Radio, Chicago's Progressive Talk. Does it feel like, to you, we've almost, like that was a cul-de-sac where we almost had World War III, and now we're back to this weird abnormal? Like, we're just sitting in it now again. It's so...
Yes, that's exactly how I feel.
It's so bizarre. Now, I don't think that the Iranian repercussions are over by any stretch of the imagination, but the pullback happened. We'll talk a little bit about how I think it happened when we come back. What's happening, Amos? What was Tom's take on it that you were looking at there, Amos? Prof, no Americans really know who Soleimani is, hence a very muted response from the public. Yeah, well, the same proportion of Americans couldn't tell you what Pompeo's position is, or know that Mick Mulvaney is the head of the Office of Management and Budget, but is also Chief of Staff. You know what I mean? If we don't know that about our own parts. Iranian Pride says Soleimani was killed 2 days before the drone attack. Dun, dun, dun. That's some infotainmentwars.com stuff right there. We have the documents. We don't have any documents. We have one chat message, but still, that's more than Alex Jones has had sometimes. I'm just saying. So is that the idea, Iranian Pride, that Soleimani got flat earthed? What happened? I don't believe and Pamela in our chat room says, I don't believe for 1 minute that Iran was going to bomb one or more embassies. They're not dumb and they know it would start a real war. Yeah, they were. And if they did it, they would do it through proxies. And that's how they've been doing it this entire time. So,
guys.
Yeah. That's right. Infotainmentwars.com. We have the documentation. Sort of. Not really, but kind of. But maybe. Yeah, Grycicle, that's what I tweeted out as well about every network saying that, the Iranians struck the plane with, and blew it out of the sky. And wouldn't you know it, it was a Russian missile and a Ukrainian plane. What are the odds? Amy, why is Trump so dumb when it comes to his job? My guess is, Amy, and it's an excellent point to bring up. My guess is because he's dumb in everything else he does.
You took my answer.
Thank you, Lagadan and
This is Tom Harmon, and you're listening to the Hal Sparks radio program, mega worldwide on Chicago's Progressive Talk, WCPT.
So I had, as this stuff was rolling out, I was one of these people like, we are in a hot war with Iran. And I don't believe that is untrue just because of this dial back. I do not believe that somehow that, and by the way, the Iranians are doing a great amount of propaganda within the country. And that is being taken by a lot of people that this is how they're going to respond. They're going to do this. And then, they sent off a few of these bombs, tell their own people they were incredibly successful. And then that'll be that. That's the storyline that's going around right now, that this is a weak response from the Iranians. You're not going to hear any more from them. Our strike worked, and we're back to abnormal. My issue with that is the Iranians are now using this as a reason to reconstitute their nuclear weapon system, and the Russians are helping them. So the Russians have been partnering with the Iranians in their nuclear systems, both, I guess, largely under the idea that it's a peaceful nuclear system for ages. Like in 2003, they partnered with them on one of the biggest reactors in the country, the one that had to be shut down and all that. The Russians were engaging in this sort of back and forth. And at one point during the negotiations pre-Iran deal, about how they would deal with the weaponizable waste of the nuclear system that the Russians had helped them put in place. The initial thing was, okay, we'll make the uranium that they can use in their reactor in Russia. And that way the waste is also produced in Russia, and we'll keep that, and we'll just send them the part that you can use as fuel. And then somewhere around 2005, 2006, that shifted to they'll make it there, but we'll take the waste. Russia will take the waste back from them. We'll be responsible for getting it from them, which I'm sure we all trust Russia to do a great job cleaning up nuclear waste. But on top of that, effectively just making Iran a factory for Russia's weapons system. Because now, at least for that period of time pre-Iran deal, the Iranians were making the weapons grade uranium hexafluoride, I think, or whatever it was, that you make the bombs out of. So instead of Russia having to make it in their own country where it's dangerous and worry about it, they just outsourced it to Iran, and Iran became this nuclear factory for them for a time. During the back and forth about the Iran deal, there was the languaging I kept hearing in both like the white papers written up about it and about articles at the time was that Russia was taking a hard line with Iran, and then they would soften their position, and then they would address what the UN or the EU and the United States wanted more directly, and they would get harder on Iran, and then they would push back against the EU and the US. And the idea was that there was this. Thank you, uranium hexafluoride. Thanks very much, UF6. Hal Vickery, I appreciate that. And in doing so, the prevailing story was that Russia was going back and forth. They were changing their mind about the Iranians in their system. I don't think there's any reason to believe that that was the case. I think it's quite obvious that they were lying and had every reason to lie to the international community and even to manipulate Iran in this. Because just like the U.S., it's not like they like Khomeini and they like the Iranian government, but a certain level of chaos and control benefits them long term, especially if they can be seen to be playing nice largely. If you're the courier out of the zone, the walled-in area that someone is, you're not a liar when you smile at the guard gate as you exit. It's a necessary part of coming and going. You know what I mean? Does that make sense, Johnny?
Absolutely.
That there's this idea somehow that you can tell good guys and bad guys on the world stage by how distinctly good or bad they are, and any languaging either way that softens what seems to soften their argument on something or push back another direction means that they're caving or something, because that's the sort of the flip-flop language was very big back then. You remember that was, they were holding up John Kerry's, like holding up flip-flops about John Kerry, that kind of this idea that if you have a nuanced response or a variance in how you deal with something, you're somehow changing your mind. And Russia benefited from that for a long time. And the fact is, I personally think, judging from their behavior and what Lavrov has said and what Putin has said and their behavior on the world stage, that they were just simply lying. And they were using the Iranians to manipulate the world and vice versa, and benefiting from both sides of this argument, that it is a manipulation. And ultimately awarded them with the nuclear waste they needed for the uranium hexafluoride that they needed to make their own missiles, being outsourced to another country so they don't have to worry about pollution around that. Russia's already got a big pollution problem. 50% of the people in Russia don't have clean water to drink. And now that the Iranian deal has blown up because of Trump and gee, who whispers in his ear without note takers or translators' notes being kept? Yeah. Ultimately, you have a situation where, Putin is now in a unique position to move into Iran and say, hey, we're going to supply them with a peaceful nuclear system. They pulled out there, and they're the ones giving them the centrifuges. They're the ones giving them the material support. This isn't even a conspiracy theory. This is just true. This is just a reality. Like the Israelis and the U.S. know and have known for quite some time that if we blew up a nuclear reactor in Iran just to stop their program or whatever, you would kill Russian scientists who are there teaching them how to use this stuff and developing it. There are, the Iranians and have Russian scientists in the country working at all these facilities. I mean, that's the reality. We're almost up to that break. So my concern is this feels like a big chess move. Which brings me to Israel. So Israel's hawkish position on Iran leading up to the Iran deal and saying it wasn't harsh enough and all that, some of the pushback that they've gotten and the leverage that they have in terms of Syria, for example, has been in coordination with Russia, and this idea that Russia is a partner in the region, just like the U.S., to the point where Netanyahu went to Moscow, met with Putin, met with the other foreign minister that they had. It wasn't Lavrov, I forget the guy's name, but they were. The idea is that to shore up his national security credentials and to show that he was a power player on the international stage, just like Zelensky wanted to come to the United States. Netanyahu went to Russia to meet with them about this stuff. And then suddenly there's this big scuttle in the Israeli elections, and what seemed like a sure fit starts to fall apart for Netanyahu. And the guy, Lieberman, who he's running against, speaks Russian and represents a great number of Russian-born Jews that had come to the country. And so there's this, one of the hard times the Internet Research Agency that Russia runs has a hard time fooling Americans sometimes is bad grammar and horrible English and the inability to seem natural, right? Well, that's not a problem in Russia, and it's not a problem in the Israeli elections when you're dealing with the constituents that Lieberman is leaning towards, who he has as his base. And I mean, and all of a sudden, Israel is on its heels politically, right at the time when this targeted assassination happens, which feels like Trump got a go-ahead, and the Iranians have been told to hold back, don't respond, kind of a Mike Flynn phone call. Don't bomb them the way you want to bomb them. Hang out. You're going to get nukes out of this. And that's precisely what's going to happen. Israel is on its political heels right now. The Iran deal has fallen apart. There is no proxy put in place to replace it in any way. And the Iranians have no reason to enter into an agreement with us or the Europeans for an unenforceable or shoddy nuclear de-escalation treaty of any sort, because why would they at this point? And who's standing there in the wings, waiting to take control of the entire circumstance? It can't be an accident, guys. And again, this idea that we're somehow in this Red Scare, this is a Red Scare. The Reds were the communists, okay? We're not talking about Russia as a socialist or communist order, and that's what they're pushing for. This dude's a gangster.
Right.
Putin, this is not about the Russians as even a governmental organization or what their idea of a constitution would be, or our system of government versus their system of government, which is what the Red Scare and all that stuff was about. This is about a gangster who makes $140,000 a year in his salary, is worth $200 billion, playing footsie with Ayatollah Khomeini, who has a similar salary and is worth $80 billion. Khomeini is worth $80 billion. We'll be back. It's the Hal Sparks radio program, Mega Worldwide on WCPT Radio, Chicago's Progressive Talk. Let's see. Scrolling back through the chat room. Where is Billy? I agree. Billy.
Poor Billy.
Hi, Deviandri Cardona from Puerto Rico. I hope you're okay. They had an earthquake there again. I got to visit Puerto Rico a couple weeks ago. Well, now it's been a month. Gosh, time flies. Time passages. It's interesting how I noticed how the the power transformers in Puerto Rico when I was there, just looked gorgeous, brand new, because everything had gotten blown away and they were replaced, and they were, the ones that they moved in were at a much higher quality, let's just say. Yeah, let's see. All right, get back into this. I'm gonna check something. Does this work? Oh, wrong camera. Yeah, okay, that worked, I think. I don't know why this camera is so weird and orange compared to that one. Whatever. Fix it. But by the way, patreon.com/HalSparks. Don't forget to become a patron. You support the show. It's fantastic. The lovely and talented Rob Glenn has been working on a special gift for our patrons. He made his first pass at it. It's super cool. Like, I'm very excited about it. Like, I feel like like Bruce Wayne when he met Morgan Freeman's character. Like, I need, well, Mr. Wayne, I think we can handle that for you. We've got something down in the basement you may not have seen. It's fantastic. Now, you have to crawl through a river of excrement to get there, but it'll be worth it. He's a collector. Now I'm mixing movies. Now I'm going all the way back to his series of movies with Ashley Judd.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, don't play my Ashley Judd movie. Siri, shut up. Hey, Siri, be quiet. That's so funny. Did you hear that?
Oh, yeah, you said series.
Yeah. That's what it was. That's so funny.
I thought someone was storming in there.
I know.
I'll tell you about Ashley Judd.
Yeah, no, I thought Summer had walked in for a split second because I have headphones in, so all I heard was female voice, and I was like, what? And then I was like, Summer's not Australian. Chicago, we cool?
Yeah, we're coming back in 20.
Okay. Just checking. Just checking. So, love and safety to everybody in Puerto Rico is my point.
Now let's get back with Hal Sparks' radio program, Mega Worldwide.
Welcome back to the show. So, I think it would behoove us all to start bucking the trend of sort of knee-jerk reaction that's been a part of, I think, it's a natural part of human exchange, but it also gets blown up by social media. And the instant reaction to things has given rise to what we refer to sometimes as cancel culture, or when you have Twitter mobs jumping on someone, or when you have Gamergate, and somebody dares to criticize an individual video game, and then dozens of gamer nerds from a Reddit thread jump in somebody's Twitter feed and start throwing threats and invectives around. That and I will play that game sometime, and I quite frankly enjoy it. And anytime you see me on social media where it appears that I am angry in my writing, understand I probably have a big grin on my face because I kind of enjoy the battle, and I know the distinction between that and an actual fight, right? There's a difference. But because we have gotten so used to this idea of direct reaction, and the idea that the person who has the quickest response has the smartest response, and maybe this is part of me just only having a show on one day a week, so I get to grind about some of these things over a couple days and consider. Obviously, stuff happens and we roll up and we try to talk about it and make sense of it. But over the course of a week, you start going, I'm noticing a pattern here. And am I allowing myself to be led around by the nose in these situations? And that's something that we always have to watch out for. So in the case of what's going on in Iran, and the plays that Russia is making in the region, and in North Africa especially, by the way, because right now Russian arms are flowing into North African countries where there are a lot of these proxy groups that Iran works with who are vowing revenge. And that revenge, by the way, more often than not, will not come against actual Americans or American interests. They will oftentimes blow up what they consider to be, even when it's not, an American business because it's a Western company from a country that does business there, full of people from that country. That's what reaction and like that's what it gets you in the end. So the issue I have is whenever this stuff comes up, and by the way, we're going to see, we have not heard the last of what Iran is going to do. We're certainly not heard the last of this president deciding, well, I got away with that. What can I do next? And the idea that because he's being led around by the nose in this circumstance, there's a very strong chance he will try something like this again. And there's a reason why, after the Iranians blew up an airplane leaving one of their own airports, the 10th one to fly out that morning, so the idea that it was a complete accident is hinky as well. The whole thing's very Jeffrey Epstein. Russian missile fired by Iranians knocking down a Ukrainian plane. Were they counting? They didn't hit any of the other planes going to other countries. They just managed to hit the Ukrainian one. I'm sure that's odd. That was an accident. And then the people trampled at the thing, and then the firing of the missiles, which were basically like a warning shot while telling their people that they actually killed, I think they said they killed 330 Americans on Iranian state TV. That's what they were telling.
Wow.
And either, I mean, nobody can check there, because they have complete control of the internet and all that. I mean, and there's, people sneak around it. They're VPNs being what they are, but either their lie is huge or ours is ginormous. And I'm going to go with theirs is a lie in this, because if we'd have heard about two, it would have been an excuse for everybody to cut loose. Unfortunately, the response is if that was it from Iran, and the presumption has been that that's it. And that what we're going to see is simply that's the end of the physical attacks. We've hit a reset point, and it's over. That episode is done. That's the perception right now. That's how people are talking about it. And I just think if it were any country with a functioning military and proxy militias that they work with, of course it's not over in that regard. And a day after that strike, I think it was Greg Abbott, the governor of Texas, said they were getting 10,000 Iranian hack attempts on their government computers a minute.
Ridiculous.
Yeah. So, and the idea that it's just Texas, why would we believe that? Now, these are just, probing attacks, by the way. And they will, all they have to do is find one person that they can phish, or they can, set up some sort of a malware on their computer, and then just let it sit there till around election time. And we are in a very dangerous place right now, where effectively the Iranians, through proxies or directly, have the opportunity to create an October surprise, or ratchet up violence during the summer, or and this is my concern. So right now, the standard has been raised to military installations with U.S. personnel in them being hit by rockets fired from Iran. That's new, right? Before that, it was blocking ships in the Straits of Hormuz, working through proxies and IEDs. Now that those things are considered lower on the military scale, the number and volume of those that the Iranians can feel like they can get away with is higher. Because if we didn't strike back for them firing actual missiles into facilities, whether they missed or not, them running interference or firing at ships in the Strait of Hormuz, or doing, any of their other proxy stuff they've been doing, is lower on the scale than that. Oh my God, they fired missiles from their own territory into base, into or at bases that contain military personnel from the United States knowingly. What that does is it creates it pushes the entire scale of violence down, where they can get away with more of it, and it's harder for the U.S. to push back now. elements. And or the worst part of it would be that Trump takes it that anything they do is now equally equivalent. And so if a proxy group decides to take some initiative and blow something up on their own, and they've been previously linked to Iran or are currently linked to Iran and did or didn't, we'll never know, do something at the behest of the Iranian government, he may feel like he has the right to do something full scale. And I really honestly think that one of the only things that led to this pullback currently is the fact that the Israeli government is on its heels right now. If Netanyahu had a sound victory in his election and had maintained control of that government cleanly, we would have struck. I think that was one of the major aspects of this. And does the idea that Iran will now be able to get nuclear weapons, which, Trump is saying we will never let them have a nuclear weapon. I don't know how you go about doing that short of bombing sites within their country. Is that Trump's October surprise? Because right now, Iran is not developing a nuclear weapon. They are getting the materials to make one from a country that has thousands of them. They don't have to start from scratch like North Korea does. So the real concern is Trump wants to let them get close because they said, yeah, we're reconstituting our stuff. They set it out in the open. And then somewhere around August, we hit them with a Moab or a nuke or whatever. And there's a lot of chest pounding. And now we're in a real hot war and you don't change horses midstream. And we're back to Bush 2006 or 2004.
Awesome.
Yeah. So that's my concern, is that this idea that somehow everybody's back to abnormal. Everybody's just like, well, that happened. What else you got? Just does not look strategically down the line. And it would behoove people in the news media, especially who talk about these things, to recognize that there's a long game being played by other people, even if our own leadership is too short-sighted. That's my concern. Robin in our chat room says, my guess is the Iran general being killed was Putin approved. I agree. I certainly think that there was
how can he do otherwise?
They had a hand in the negotiation with how to handle it afterwards. But the idea is that you give up this, this guy gets killed, and then from this, you get nukes. That guy would have martyred himself so that Iran had nuclear warheads, I think. I mean, does anyone think that Soleimani wouldn't have died to get nukes for his country? Isn't that effectively what he did? That's the creepy part. And that's why, that's why you don't take that step. Or if you take that step, you take mitigatory steps outside of it to make sure that they're not. The Iranians are now in a situation, thanks to the actions of this president and his pulling out of the Iran deal and his specific attacks on, choosing to target this guy, where the Iranians can argue to the rest of the world, the only way we are safe is if we have nukes. Look at North Korea. If North Korea didn't have nukes, we or somebody else would have rolled over them a long time ago. And everybody knows that. One of the reasons why Saddam Hussein is dead is because he didn't have weapons of mass destruction, and we knew it. If he'd have had them, we wouldn't have rolled in there like that. And that's my concern about this, is that Iran will now see this as the only way that they are safe from an external attack from the United States or Israel, is we must have nukes for our own self-defense. And because of how Trump has acted and the fact that he extrajudicially blew up a dude who was on foreign soil and wanted total credit and just called the guy a terrorist and basically said that Iran is a failed state. That's what you say when you say that Soleimani was simply a terrorist, instead of going, he was, the Iranian government is supporting terrorism. This guy was the coordinator. That's great languaging. If the minute you go, he's just a terrorist, then you basically are saying the Iranian government is is a fake government. It's a failed state. It's like the caliphate and at ISIS. It's not. It doesn't deserve international recognition. Meanwhile, we're recognizing North Korea. And the argument from the Iranians will continue to be, if we don't have a nuke, we're dead. Pakistan has one. It's the only reason India hasn't rolled over them. So we think we need one too. And now there's a real hard argument pushing back on that internationally. So we got to take a break. We'll be back. It's the House Sparks Radio program, Mega Worldwide on WCPT Radio, Chicago's Progressive Talk. Adams for peace. I'm scrolling back through the chat room. New Logitech updater. New updates for your Logitech softwares is available.
I don't like that.
It's from their actual thing.
Oh my word.
But I think Logitech they're not an American company. They're are they French? I forget.
I don't know.
Yeah.
They make my mice.
Yes, they do. Somebody in the chat room will know this. Does anybody know, is there anybody at CES watching us right now? Where's Logitech from? Thank you. Richard Haas of the Council on Foreign Relations has lamented the likely end of nuclear non-proliferation because of the reasonable fear of U.S. policies. That's precisely what I was talking about. So we're getting 255 characters for our message anytime soon from YouTube. Be a nice old school programs reference. Hello. Oh, is there a cat trapped in here? Yeah. Oh. Okay.
Is Siri telling you about cats now?
No, that's actually Summer. Yeah.
Sorry, I missed that. Could you say it again, please?
This is Doris
That was
Davenport,
not us.
host of the Doris Davenport
That
Show.
was me.
All the time. Now let's get back to Hal Sparks' radio program, Mega Worldwide.
That we were just having a Siri moment.
Yeah, she won't stop talking to me.
No, that's right.
She's obsessed.
Yeah. Hey Siri, what's the temperature in Tehran right now?
In Tehran, Iran, it's 37 degrees.
Ooh. It's very cold in Tehran right now.
That is cold.
Is it the middle of the night? Is that why? I don't know, like timing wise. No, I think that's later. Yeah, that's chilly. So Tom in our chat room brought up that Richard Haas of the Council on Foreign Relations has lamented the likely end of nuclear non-proliferation because of reasonable fear of U.S. policies. That's
I'm Siri, your virtual assistant.
Yes, we know. Thank you. She's very helpful. Imagine how hard it is to talk about Syria in that regard.
Oh, it's the worst.
Yeah. It was like when I was trying to talk about Alexei Navalny, the guy who's running against Vladimir Putin in Russia, and I had to change I have an Alexa in the house. You can change it to Amazon or Echo. You can change its name.
Yeah. I've had to do it.
So yeah. It's just, yeah. Oh, and Hal Vickery says we activated theirs as well. Yeah. So I can't time out your. Everybody's trying. Yeah, everybody says Siri is flirting. Rocky Mountain Mike says, I hope we don't trap Alexa or attack Alexa in this. Iranian Pride says it is snowing in Tehran. Which is an interesting point. You know, the British used to go skiing in Tehran before oil was a thing. There was all this normalized cultural exchange in Iran before oil worked in. And Rachel Maddow's book, Blowout, which is about, sort of the resource curse of a lot of countries, where they discover something and it should be a boon to their populace. It should be great. They have this resource. The world needs it. All they got to do is pull it out of the ground and sell it, or mine it, and the country will have an influx of money that they've never had before, and it will help them with education and healthcare and all these kind of things. And it does for a time, and then corruption just rolls in because it is a single-sourced way of getting money. It almost like makes these countries oddly lazy otherwise. That it's such a reliable form for a time, especially for decades, where it just normalizes the culture of, well, our country has a tremendous amount of money because of the oil. And we've talked about how Saudi Arabia is cash broke effectively. What does tensions with Iran being ratcheted up and issues in Venezuela and the like, making it difficult for them to pull, they have the biggest oil reserves in the world. What's the benefit of them not having a functioning country, or Iran's oil, which is I think third or seventh as far as how much they have left in the world? I don't buy the Saudi numbers, so that's that. We'll put that aside. What's the benefit of that oil not going to market? It inflates the price of a barrel of oil. So when you have a situation where you've got the biggest reserves in the world, or you have access to the Strait of Hormuz in Iran's case, where you can get that oil everywhere easier than other people, unlike Canadian shale oil and stuff like that, getting that off the market benefits everybody else who makes money in the oil trade, including all the Middle Eastern countries that seem regularly ganged up against Iran in this regard. And the Iranians as a public, we've heard forever in this country how they have a lot more in common with the West and the U.S. particularly than anybody else. And the variety of religions practiced in Iran before it, I don't know how to say this nicely, became a Muslim country, is indicative of, I think, of a history, that matches very well with polytheistic and monotheistic religions working together at the same time, throughout Europe and Asia, that did get along well. I'll beat my drum about, the difficulty of specific strains of monotheism being used as, in lieu of a governmental system at another time. But, Iran had a lot going for it as a country that interacted with a lot of other countries. They had a lot to give the world in that regard. And then once oil came into it, that's all they were seen as having to give. And that, and there's some countries that are like that didn't even exist as a country per se until oil was found in the region, borders were set up, and the stuff got milked. But BP, British Petroleum, who are, as much as people like to give our CIA credit for Mossadegh and the installation of the deposing of the Shah and that stuff, MI6 working with BP had a large part. We had more of a support structure in that, because the Arab, it was like, I forget the acronym for it before it was BP, but it's like AMSOC. It was but it was this conjunction of the British came into Iran and said, we'll help you get the oil out of the ground and get it to market. We want 50% to do that. And because at the time they didn't have the ability to get it out at all, 100% and nothing, or 50% of billions, which one's preferable for your country at that time? So they took the 50% deal. Over time, that oil company became British Petroleum. You'll recognize them from spilling oil in our Gulf, for example.
I'm Troy McClure.
Yeah, and we backed them in because of the concern that the Iranians were getting tired of giving England 50% of their oil revenues. We got to take it back. It was Aramco, the Arabian American. No, that was the Arabian American Oil Company. I'll look it up during the break. We'll be back. It's the Hal Sparks Radio program, Mega Worldwide on WCPT Radio, WCPT820.com. Like and subscribe. Give us a thumbs up, kids. You're watching on the YouTube channel right now, aren't you? Aren't you? Give us a thumbs up or a thumbs down. It doesn't matter. The attention works either way. I love algorithms. Follow me on Twitter at HalSparks and at JMillion. We'll be back right after this. And, of course, become a Patreon subscriber. Patreon.com/HalSparks. Be our boss for the price of a cup of coffee a month. I mean, there's all kinds of free shows and all kinds of goodies you get. I'm just saying, there's a possibility. If you're already a patron, maybe up the patronage. We're growing. It's helping. Thank you. We'll be back. We got to, this is going to drive me crazy. I have to look at, move this over here. Move the chat out of the way so I can see what I'm doing. Yeah, so BP was British Oil Company. Yeah, Anglo, yeah. Began flowing in. Yeah, the Anglo-Persian Oil Company, APOC.
Look here, APOC.
Mm-hmm. Right. What happened to Biggie and APOC? I mean, honestly, what happened to Big Oil and APOC? Yeah, I'm looking at this.
Can I confess something to you?
Sure.
When I hear, I've got some very specific song lyric Tourette's, and every time I hear somebody say, "I'm looking for," I think I'm looking for Jack Action.
Yeah, from Wasp, of course.
Yeah. I knew you would get it.
Looking for Jack. Yeah.
Looking for Jack Action. In my satisfaction.
I have that with movie lines. I have that with song lyrics.
What about like when someone says, "Next thing you know, old Jed's a millionaire"?
Millionaire, right? Yeah,
Yep.
Absolutely. Yeah. Amos saying, "What's up, APOC?" Right? 6-Pac. Why'd somebody just say "ho"? That's not appropriate. Don't do that.
What?
I don't know.
I haven't had a 6-Pac in a long time.
In their defense, they might have been a pirate. Might have been a pirate in the chat room. Hi, Natalie. Thanks for the thumbs up. After these messages, we'll be right back.
Back, yeah. Kenny Everett.
Yep.
Was that Kenny Everett?
I don't know. Who wrote that, you mean?
No, the what show is it from?
Oh gosh, I remember it being a part of Saturday morning cartoons on almost all of them.
Oh yeah, you're right.
Yeah. Six. At least you don't react to "Come Sail Away" by Styx by the way Cartman does. Come sail away. I don't, because I sang it with Dennis DeYoung on television.
Ooh.
Yes, Amy, thank you for the calendar. I appreciate that. Amy Wright sent me a Harley Davidson calendar, motorcycle calendar. It was very cool. Thank you for that as a Christmas gift. After there was APOC, there was Tupac. Tupac, right? And Robin knew it was Wasp too, as well. So
Yay!
Yeah. I think it was ABC that ran that bumper. Yeah, ABC Cartoons that ran the bumper. After these messages, we'll be right back. Don't pick on Styx. Prof. That's just rude. This
Yeah,
is
no need.
fantastic. Just, why would you even? Why would you even?
No need.
I use Too Much Time on My Hands as one of my vocal tune-up songs.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, because it's so in the pocket for me that I can heal my voice if it's wrecked by singing certain songs.
Yeah, yeah.
And it keeps it, and it's super clean, you know? Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I'm sitting on this bar stool talking like a damn fool at the 12 o'clock news blues. Yeah. I love that line in it. I got dozens of friends and the fun never ends. That is as long as I'm buying.
Yeah.
In Chinese, they have a word for that. It's called jiu rou pengyo, which is
back in 60 guess.
Thank you. Which means like a liquor and meat friend. Like this, and as long as there's wine and meat, dude's your buddy. Yeah. So Governor Newsom brought Cali rent control, and they were petitioning him at Vaughn's Market. How do you mean petitioning him? Were they protesting him, or do you mean they were taking petitions to get him to be president? Speak English, Hal, please, for me. The singing is delightful. Oh, thank you, Susie. I try. Our manager wanted us to take on Styx because he had a hassle with their manager. Obviously, being a blues band, it wasn't feasible. Domo arigato, Mr. Roboto. Oh, thank you.
You're listening to the Hal Sparks radio program, Mega Worldwide.
I've had people walk out of me before, but not when I was being so charming.
Video streaming at halsparks.com.
I don't care for you if the putrid sludge you're troweling out.
Puss-faced little pimp stick.
True progressive talk.
Might be a good time for you guys to give up.
So one of the things you could not have predicted in some ways is that by a military strike killing Qasem Soleimani, a dude who most of us had no idea who he was, who became the most important terrorist in the world instantly overnight because he was coordinating stuff, which just, again, opens the field to how you can react. Well, that guy coordinated all kinds of stuff. What guy? Well, you know, his dad was Dick Cheney, or her dad was Dick Cheney, so if she comes onto our soil, they coordinated torture. So using this, we can justify killing them. All that kind of blowback, which you can kind of see in some time in the future. Somebody's going to try to use that as justification. But right now, according to Arab News, in Tehran, a group of Iranian protesters are demanding Iran's Supreme Leader Ayatollah Ali Khamenei step down on Saturday after Tehran said that its military had mistakenly shot down a Ukrainian plane, killing 176 people on board. Commander-in-Chief Khamenei, resign, resign. Videos posted on Twitter showed hundreds of people chanting in front of Tehran's Amir Kabir University. Reuters could not verify the authenticity of the video footage. Iran announced Saturday that its military, quote, unintentionally shot down a Ukrainian jetliner with Russian missiles after the government had repeatedly denied Western accusations that it was responsible. So we didn't do it. Okay, we did do it, but it was an accident. The plane was shot down early Wednesday, hours after Iran launched a ballistic missile attack on 2 military bases housing U.S. troops in Iraq in retaliation for the killing of Iranian General Qasem Soleimani and an American airstrike in Baghdad. No one was wounded in the attack on the bases. That's Arab News. I don't know whether or not they actually get access to that, how many people can actually see that, you know what I mean? Like, not that it matters. I mean, obviously the Iranians have, over time, off and on, found a way to get around the limitations on the internet around them, much like the Chinese and the Russians have to do. Russia, by the way, is now testing a system an intranet for their own country where they will isolate themselves from the internet of the rest of the world because they now know how easily it can be weaponized.
Wow.
So they're, you okay? So they, is that your neck?
Yeah, that was my squeak. Sorry.
That's right. They now, it's so funny. It's like a gun manufacturer going, I don't have a gun in the house. Those things are dangerous. Like that's how Russia is now.
Yeah, because they know the reality of it.
Yeah. And the Russians now, that's one of their biggest issues. By the way, I don't know if we have any callers. I didn't check, so I'm just checking. 773-763-9278 is our number. Obviously, there's a lot to be. That's good. Okay, cool. 773-763-9278 is the number. And you, over the last week, the roller coaster ride of the last week, a lot has been shifting in the political winds of the Democratic National, like just in general, all the committee. We lost Marianne Williamson. Finally she dropped out of the race. Was that yesterday? Day before yesterday?
Yeah, I think it was yesterday.
Yep. Hung in there longer than Kamala Harris. That's amazing to me.
That's so weird.
Yeah. It's and I think a lot of people are still surprised that Kamala pulled out when she did, except for the fact that maybe there's some coordination going on, or she's, keeping her powder dry for the next election because she's, politically speaking, she's a young woman with prospects, so she can, she's got a couple of decades of being a valuable entity in the Democratic Party. And that's, by no means over by her, her leaving. And I, as a citizen of California most of the time, I like Kamala, and I certainly appreciated that Gavin Newsom supported her. I like Gavin a lot. I'm not going to lie. I think as people coming up in the Democratic Party go, Gavin's and I'm not just saying this because I at one point had his cell phone number. And before he became governor, I don't know if he still has the same one. I haven't checked. It seems rude. But that, I walked from Harvey Milk Square to the Supreme Court building in San Francisco for gay rights. And Gavin was right there with us way back when he was just the mayor of San Francisco. I understand he's evil, straight white dude. But as they come, a pretty great example of one. But so over, and there's a lot of talk about how it's basically a margin of error race in Iowa and New Hampshire right now. Biden is winning the African American vote in South Carolina by somewhere in the order of 53%. And
what am I missing there?
Well, I mean, he was Barack Obama's vice president. He's a known entity. He, even though he's been seen, he's got, I guess, in theory, baggage from his history. I think there's a respect that everybody has a certain amount of baggage, and you're not. It's what you recognize about your baggage and what you're willing to change about your behavior that matters more to some people than not having any at all, because it tends to happen, I think, in politics for a lot of people, that if you don't seem to have baggage, when it shows up, it's going to be awful.
True.
I call it the Trudeau effect in some ways. You know what I mean? The idea that Justin Trudeau had multiple blackface pictures in his past. Who? What? What? Well, I mean, now he's got beard face. It's a nice attempt. But you know what I mean? There's an element of oh, he's perfect. Well, but ultimately, I don't think anybody has a reason to distrust his caring or for minorities in his country or the like, even with that stuff in the past. And then you got people who have none of that stuff, and you wouldn't let them babysit your kids for 10 minutes.
No.
None of the example I would make is none of Trump's spiritual advisors that currently, I don't know what the if any of them got broomed early because something was discovered, have any pictures like that in their past. Wait, except what was the cook, the woman who like basically got broomed because she had a Civil War party for her birthday.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, she's
forgot
not one of
about
his
that.
spiritual advisors. She's one of those people where you're like, really? And that wasn't even in her past. She did that recently, and that was what the blow up was. But somebody who's got something, none of those folks have any of that stuff in their past, and you wouldn't trust them with minority or women's rights or gay rights any day of the week. Like, it's an absurdity. So I think that might be part of it. It's a difficult thing to parse out, but I think that's one of the elements that you're up against when you're looking at the field, and perhaps why Biden has this. Like I said, he's a known entity. Nobody's going to be surprised by his takes on stuff, and when he misspeaks, that's the interesting thing too, because he catches a lot of stuff for misspeaking, and as he should. He's always been kind of a gaffe machine. Half the time when he's seen as being a gaffe machine, he's saying what he really thinks. And that's, people have an issue with that, which is, you could argue one of the main reasons Trump got elected, why there were crossover voters for him, was that at least perception that he says what he really thinks and he's not too political about it. And Biden, that negative is a positive in a lot of people's minds. The other time is when he misspeaks, he reverses something that he's saying and says sort of the exact opposite, but it doesn't mean his principled choice would be the opposite. You know what I mean?
Right.
That's the difference. And I think people can see past that. There's other people where they say it right, like Mayor Buttigieg would be a great, Mayor Pete almost never flubs linguistically, and has led to almost a distrust of him by similar voters, by like, this dude's calculating everything he says. What's up? Like, they have that kind of attitude, if you speak too well, which is, that leads us back to, Bush v. Gore and who you'd rather have a beer with. It's a terrible standard.
Oh yeah.
But but it exists. And you can deal with reality, or you can go, why does it have to blah, blah, blah. In my case, I think that's part of what's going on there, is this idea that, they just feel like they can trust him. That's my thought on it. And I'm, this is the moment when I check in with our chat room, because the feelings on Trudeau across the board are pretty broad, from Trudeau's a racist to Trudeau's not a racist. He's just thoughtless sometimes to he's a genius. So again, it's a great example of how I think everybody in our chat room is fantastic, but for the occasional troll, and we can have a difference of opinion about somebody like that, and still be meaningful in that discussion about it. This is interesting. And the prof said Gavin is great and a great future. He could be our Trudeau, except he doesn't have any of that kind of baggage, and most of his baggage happened while he was mayor, when he got a divorce, and there was this big kind of almost Camelot-ish storyline about him. Oh, we got to take a break. I raced past that. I beg your pardon. We're going to talk to the chat room after the next break, because they've got a lot to add to this as well. And Brad says, Hal, and Trudeau is a dreamboat. Well, I happen to think that Gavin Newsom came out of a machine that makes perfect politicians, because that guy, have you seen him? Like, it's amazing. He looks like a Disney character.
Yeah.
I think he's CG. I'm fairly certain. I think he doesn't live near Silicon Valley. He was made there. It's entirely possible, because his hand gestures and his smiling and his politicking, it's like right out of, like, this kid was president of his junior class in high school, that kind of thing. We'll be back. Some right-wing pundit denounced The Witcher on the grounds that women cannot wield swords that way in battle. Oh, whatever.
Yeah, 3 callers so far. 3 callers so far, Hal.
Okay, thanks. You got Trump mouth? It's a bad case of Trump mouth? Well,
I'd prefer
That was
usual fighting
amazing.
gaff. Thank you if you're going to use anything to insult my little stutter there.
Oh,
Aw.
it was. It didn't sound like a stutter. It felt like a, it sounds like warble, which happens. Yeah. Yeah, his
Yeah, I actually watched most of that statement. That was amazing.
oh
He
god.
was inventing polysyllabic words.
See what this.
So what was happening? We got there very early. We saw what was happening. I saw what was happening. I said, what's that all about? And that was going to be another Benghazi. Had they broken through the final panels of glass, they were breaking it. Had they gotten through, we would have had either hundreds of dead people or hundreds of hostages. That wasn't going to happen. And last week, the United States once again took the bold and decisive action to save American lives and deliver.
Jesus Christ. Oh Lord. Let's see if I can.
That guy.
Yeah, this guy. This is true. Oh, you should grow a beard with long hair or an afro. All right. I think beard and long hair is a good idea for me. But the problem is Nerd Halen. It's messing with my ability to grow any facial hair and stuff lately. So, and Trump's argument that... Come back and tell this part.
This is Ron Calgill.
And this is Robbie Earhart.
And you're listening to the Hal Sparks radio program, Mega Worldwide.
So, by the way, just to break down, the justification for getting Soleimani in the first place, it was imminent attack. Imminent means he's planning anything that could happen anytime at this point, thanks to Pompeo, which opens the door, if there's no limitation on this behavior in the future. Hold on, I want to put this down so it doesn't double the audio. That swings the door wide open for the future killing of anybody. Like the idea that we've suddenly entered a new era of peace with Trump and we're not going to get into any more stupid wars, and that the extrajudicial killing that was, started, that supposedly like this drone strike idea of Obama, which seems to be this nagging thing. Well, the drone program started under Obama. The drone strike. No, it didn't. Like they started. We talked about this last time, but they militarized the Predator drone and the Reaper drone. The Predator was just stalking drones. They added missiles to that during the Iraq War before Obama got in. And they ordered the Reapers during that period, and they were delivered during Obama. But this idea that somehow drone strikes were invented by Obama, and the idea that any president in a similar situation making a legit decision about taking out a target would go, you know what, just to be fair, let's send in 10 soldiers so there's a chance they'll die so that we can feel better about ourselves. Like, I mean, honestly, that seems to be largely the pushback. That, when these things are done, we should send in people, not drones, because if you have some skin in the game, you'll make a better decision. Like, that seems to be the idea, which is madness and ridiculous, unless you have someone like Trump or Bush in charge. Right. So, anyways, that's another discussion for another time. But Trump's argument was they were planning this attack. It was imminent. And then it comes back that actually Trump was watching TV when these people were trying to storm the embassy, and by the way, and failed, and were repulsed by flares. We shot flares at them. The Iranians sent those folks, no question. Those were not standard Iraqi protesters. There might have been some mixed in there, but the Iranians sent those folks as a way of showing force, and pretend this was propaganda aimed at the Iraqis. Iraqis are rising up, telling the Americans to leave. They need to get out. And so there was no follow through. There was no future Benghazi. There was no point where they were going to do that. The Iranians, if they got in that facility, would be shot dead. That was, and therefore it'd be easy to track. You'd go, oh, we know who this guy is. We know who this guy is. We know who this guy is when you're dealing with dead bodies. Like they had a limit on what they were doing. This was all an act. But Trump apparently saw this on television, got really mad and said, that's why he decided to take out Soleimani, is the theory around this stuff. So here he is, and they come back and push and go, no, that wasn't the case. He was engaged in something that he was planning, and we had to get him because he was going to attack embassies in the future. He was working on those attacks. And then Trump goes to Toledo. And wouldn't you know it, it's the end of Lee Greenwood singing, I think, that you hear there as he walks out.
We got there very early. We saw what was happening. I saw what was happening. I said, what's that all about? And that was going to be another Benghazi. Had they broken through the final panels of glass, they were breaking it. Had they gotten through, we would have had either hundreds of dead people or hundreds of hostages. That wasn't going to happen.
Okay, so that was his justification was they're working on an imminent threat. This is, we're going to strike back because of that. This is what drew his attention in the first place. I saw it. Usually I don't.
Saw what was happening.
Even I watched this assessment. Even I saw the footage. Then we go to Soleimani and why he thinks. Yeah.
And last week, the United States once again took the bold and decisive action to save American lives and deliver American justice. And you know what I'm talking about.
And you know what I'm talking about.
That's horrible.
And some people held up some stuff that said no war and MAGA equals hate. There were some protesters there, and they got shouted down.
That's okay. They're gone. They're going home to mommy.
Right, this is.
It's a beautiful sight. It's a brilliant thing ever. And I went back to my people and I said, I have an idea. Soleimani was actively planning new attacks, and he was looking very seriously at our embassies, and not just the embassy in Baghdad, but we stopped him, and we stopped him quickly, and we stopped him cold.
But stopping him cold, that line was in the teleprompter. The quickly part he added himself, like he does, which is.
They hit us with 16 missiles. And I said, how many? We were ready to go. I said, how many? How many died? How many were wounded? Sir, none. None. Pretty good warning system. None. How many were hurt? None, sir. So we didn't do anything. We were ready. Not that I wanted to. But we were ready. You have no idea. A lot of people got very lucky. He was a bad guy. He was a bloodthirsty terror, and he's no longer a terror. He's dead. And yet now I see.
This is the part where
the radical left Democrats have expressed outrage over the termination of this horrible terrorist. So they want me, these are split-second decisions. You have to make a decision. So they don't want me to make that decision. They want me to call up, maybe go over there, let me go over to Congress, or come on over to the White House, let's talk about it. When can you make it? Well, I won't be able to make it today, sir. How about, let's say in a couple of days? Oh, sure, come on over. Now, we got a call. We heard where he was. We knew the way he was getting there, and we we had to make a decision. We didn't have time to call up Nancy, who is not operating with a full deck.
Right, yeah. So this just becomes the, him slamming supposedly liberals, are mad that this guy is dead.
Want to follow the Constitution.
Not just, that we are a country of laws and we would like to maintain those laws. And no one's asking, by the way, the president, the argument that he's made is that before I make this strike, I have to call Congress and get their permission or talk about it with them. That's not how the AUMF works. It's not how the War Powers Act works. What you have to do is you have 48 hours to explain yourself. 2 days after the fact, you have 48 hours. You can do this strike, but in the next 48 hours, you got to let people know what happened and why, and what your plan is to deal with the effects of it. And if it's going to lead us to war, you have 60 days to follow up on this action and deal with the ramifications. And if it goes beyond 60 days, we're officially at war, or you need an authorized use of military force. That's the problem with the authorized use of military force, is that it can be made to mean anything. We no longer need, and by the way, I won't get too far into this because Jackie Scheckner and I talk about this on the Wonky Donk episode that's coming out. If you're a Patreon subscriber, you get to see the video version of it, and it's really fun. But everybody else, you can listen on the Sexy Liberal Podcast Network, which, by the way, the Hal Sparks Radio Podcast, Mega Worldwide, is available on there as well if you want to listen to this. The lovely and talented Chris Lavoie cuts that down. Everybody say hi, Chris. And it cuts down into a bite-sized version, the Whitman sampler of the show. When we come back, we're going to take some callers, 773-763-9278. Such a weird thing.
Currently have 4 callers.
Oh, there you go. All right, we'll grab them now for this next break.
And after the next break, the lines will be full because that's how it usually works.
Totally. Yeah, that's where the trolls come in. I know you're not going to give me any time to talk because you only got 30 seconds left in the show, but way to steamroll me, you lefty. Right. Those guys.
No, it does seem to be the last 30 seconds of every show for the past couple of weeks.
Yep. Yeah. Saudi Honey Festival.
I can't look at the dogs until I get my phone.
Okay, well, get your phone and take the dogs, and
She can't look at the dogs. I sent her a post from UPS Dogs on Instagram.
ah. Monster Miller. The Sultan of Oman died, and his name is Caboose, and
Oh no!
And I don't. I mean, I'm sure he's a decent fellow, I suppose, but the fact that his name is Caboose makes it almost impossible to talk about the news of it. It's just. But he's been replaced immediately, by Haitham bin Tariq, who's saying that they're going to have good relations with all nations. So hopefully that's the case. Well, not all, but, hashtag not all. I can just tell that our phone line. I'll make it. Sorry, Amy, I had to play the. Yeah, Can't Stop Lines putting the sparkles in, which are the little bits of information about me that, you may or may not know. So thanks for that.
Back in 60 gents, and the phone lines are full now, Hal.
Yeah, there you go.
Oh, boy.
Biden is cuter than impeached Trump. It's like people who are against LGBTQ who thinks that members of the LGBT will be magically attracted to them.
Duh.
Yeah. Alvin Newson's probably. Yeah, there we go. Tom Hartman used to be Steffi's dreamboat. I think he nixed that. Oh. I'll be out there.
I'm Dick Kay from Back on the Beat, and here is the Mega Worldwide Radio program with Hal Sparks.
Well, welcome back to the fastest growing liberal talk show on the radio today. My shoulder hurts from patting myself on the back. We've got, and our phone lines are full, if that's not any indication. Let's grab some of these callers. There's so much to talk about. I can't believe we don't have callers who need to get something off their chest. Who do we have first, Evan?
First, we have Jeff out in Chicago.
Cool. Hey, Jeff.
Yeah, Hal, I think we're forgetting one thing. When Obama was using the drones and he was killing terrorists, the discussion was at that time that he didn't want people want him captured so they get information. And instead of doing that, he really didn't want to send them to Guantanamo. And that's when they said he was killing them. And that went on for for a long time.
Yeah, that was more. I would say that's more like that was pundit class talk about it and personal theorizing about that idea. I fall more into the practical belief system, which is that presented with an opportunity where you can send a drone versus soldiers, drones don't come home in flag draped coffins, and most presidents will find themselves increasingly taking those kind of making those kind of choices. Less about eliminating a member of the conspiracy from the table or not wanting to pay to put them in jail. I think it had a lot to do with where they were and whether or not, if you send in a SEAL team, are they worth a SEAL team death if you can get them some other way? And I think that the rise in drones.
I absolutely agree.
Yeah,
I agree.
Yeah. So go ahead. Anyways, and your other
drone and killing them. I definitely agree with that.
Yeah.
There's no question.
Yep.
No question about that.
So
okay, that was my only.
I appreciate that. Yeah, I appreciate that that addition, and thanks for keeping it tight so the other callers can be on. See, that's how it's done, guys. That's how it's done. Who else do we have, Devin? Who do we have next?
Next, we have Robert out in Florida.
Cool. Hey, Robert.
Hey. Whoa. What's up, Hal?
How are you?
Hey, I'll keep it fast and quick. Good, my friend. How are you?
Great.
All right. I think last week we talked about how this all checked Diney's boxes. He gets the evangelicals back in his corner, but I'm now as it's playing out, I look at this guy who got whacked. I think this is actually helping Russia even more because number one, this guy had charisma and looked like Iran could have been lost to this guy, and Russia doesn't control that guy. They have the mullahs on their side.
Right.
So I'm thinking this helps Russia even more that. This guy gets killed, and Diney pulls the trigger for him.
If you wipe out their military leader, they are now more reliant than ever on the military support they get from Russia. Russia will never be able to voice-wise abjectly replace Khomeini, but they can replace that guy in the chain of command as far as the
Khomeini now, he has 100% support in his nation because, he's a martyr now. He's at the funeral crying. I mean, come on, you got 50 people dying at a funeral?
Yep.
That's how much they love this guy. This guy was a threat to Iran, and maybe he was the one that was going to change Iran to the better. Who the hell knows,
Right.
But now that he's gone, it's not a problem for anybody because everything stays the same,
Yeah, I hear you.
Even that the weapon, that plane they shoot out of the ground, out of the sky. Let me tell you something. Russia had two borders with Iran at one time. Kazakhstan and Turkestan, they both shared a border with Russia.
Right.
Now Russia has an interest in protecting, having a relationship with their neighbors. So they sell weapons, these anti-aircraft, these rockets that shoot up. But if you're Russia, would you sell your neighbor who you don't know, who could be crazy, weapons that you can't control? Who's to say there's not a virus in that weapon system that before, as they're unloading the weapons, they're saying, okay, now you're going to find a Ukrainian plane and you're going to take it down, or have control of the rockets itself. I mean, because who's to say if Iran decided to attack Russia, that Russia couldn't turn those rockets and go right back to Tehran? So I'm saying, be careful who you buy your weapons from.
Yeah. Well, especially when the guidance systems come along as part of the package. You're not wrong. I mean, that's one of the reasons why we had that pushback against the Huawei phones in the United States, because the spyware that China puts in the phones to control their own people is integral to the mechanism of the Huawei phones, and anywhere else they get sold, they're basically listening devices. The Chinese government has a 50% stake in every single business, and you should be very suspect in those circumstances.
Right.
Yeah. So
before I'm going to give up the phone real quick. I just want to make a point that if you look at our relationships with Iran, I mean, obviously it goes back to 1956, and we decided who was going to be their president. And then 1979 they took it back. But even still, we had a relationship with Iran. It's my opinion that Reagan didn't beat Carter, but he needed the help of Iran to keep those hostages there long enough so that he could pull off a thing. And then what happened? Then Nally North and them decide that they're going to sell weapons through Israel, and so we already actually had an relationship.
Trump's not an original production; he's a reboot.
Right. Yeah. And then now you look at the 2000 election when George W. Bush didn't win Florida, but the Supreme Court said, okay, you're going to be president. So then 9/11 happens, and guess what? Well, we're in Afghanistan, but that's not sexy enough, and now we're in Iraq. And so basically, Republicans, to justify their elections, they have to have a war. Just like Donald Trump didn't win. Russia decided that was going to be our president over here, so now he needs another distraction. And to the Republican friends who may be listening, and spying on your show, my question to you is, what happens if Iraq decides you got to go? Are we going to be an occupying force?
Right.
You're going to have to leave. And then after what? We borrowed trillions of dollars, lost millions of lives for what? To hand over to Iran? Come on.
Right.
This is crazy.
Yeah, we become a proxy fighting force for the Iranian government is effectively what we're dealing with right now, so that they could wipe out Saddam Hussein and take over the country. That's effectively what's going to happen if we leave. And Trump is he's going to sanction Iraq if they try to remove us, which, you can't make up for the failure you created in that circumstance. It's just absurd. So I appreciate the call. Let's get one more before the break if we can.
Next, we have Alan out in Indiana.
Cool. Hey, Alan.
Yeah, hey, Al. The guy from Florida was going to keep it short, but it took a while.
It happens.
Anyway,
yeah.
I do think we need some kind of authorization to go to, when we do things like this. 2011, though, Pelosi said Obama did not need any Congress authorization to bomb Libya. Can you tell me the difference?
Well, we already, to bomb Libya. We weren't bombing Libya as a country. We were bombing sites within Libya as part of the AUMF around terrorism. We weren't attacking Libya as a country in theory. That's how. And that's why I'm saying the AUMF, as it stands, the War Powers Act is the problem. The War Powers Act created in 1973 under Richard Nixon, which he vetoed, and then they were able to override his veto. The back doors available that they put in there, just in case, because we were in the middle of the Cold War, created this. It was screen doors on a submarine, and everybody was just waving as they left the dock. Look what we did. And the irony is, and please listen to the wonky doc, because Jackie and I get into this a lot more. But part of the essence is it was the left and the anti-war movement who, in a rush to fix what they saw as the problem in post-Vietnam, that left these gaps in there because the broad language had so many holes in it that they didn't realize that all you needed was some nutcase who with no morals to get in charge of this, and then you don't need to go to you don't need to declare war anymore because of the porous nature of the AUMF as it's designed, the ability to create an authorized use of military force, and the rolling aspect of that, the 48-hour reference, the 60-day limit, and the fact that if you've been in a hot war of defense for 60 days, the idea that you would need to declare war on a country that's declared war on you in those regards, the only thing you need to do that is to cross another border. Well, all you got to do is wait for, in 60 days, in 2 months' time, for them to yell at you, we declare war on you. Like death to America is enough of a declaration of war on the streets of Iran to justify, under the AUMF, a material attack against Iran if they're using proxies in other countries. It's a terrible piece of legislation that has more holes than structure. That's the problem. And even if we look at the Resolution 83, we break it down on the wonky dunk, she and I do. Every 9 words, there's a way out by anybody who wants to just disregard the content. And it's written like real legislation is supposed to be written. It's not the fault of who's trying. It's simply the gap in how it's created. That there's the legalese involved, that it's attempting to ratchet down Trump's expansion in the Middle East is exactly the language that gives him the ability to poke a bear and then go, I had to shoot the bear. It tried to scratch me. Like, that's the problem with the AUMF, in my estimation, in how it's worded. And the problem is, our rolling AUMF, even when we ask for one, just by the language of, well, we have to be able to defend ourselves, which is true, and you would never leave that out of something. We talk about that. We use that language with Israel all the time. Israel has the right to defend themselves. Absolutely. Well, an AUMF around the war on terror has allowed us to, like I said, we could have killed that dude from Hezbollah in that car under the previous AUMF, and they just used the justification to get the dude from the Iranian, the Soleimani. But we could have killed the other 2 guys in that car and gotten Soleimani as collateral damage under the old AUMF without any, push in that regard, towards another AUMF. That's my problem with it. We rely on that too much. We need a recrafting of the War Powers Act and what it means. So I hear where you're coming from, and you're absolutely right that we need, if we're going to hit a government, and this is the difference, and I think it's what you're more than likely what you're kind of getting at. If we're going to hit a government official of another country that we are not currently declaring war on purpose, an AUMF should be necessary. That the diplomatic and military leaders and, and elected leaders or religious leaders of a country, if we're going to hit them on purpose, we need an AUMF. And it has to be so narrowly crafted that there's no wiggle in this. Even the 83, go read it. It's a page. It's 1 page long. And tell me that every 3 sentences you couldn't figure out a way to justify everything that Trump has done legally. That's my problem with it. And you're absolutely right. But what we need is a ratcheting down of that. Literally, that's what the Wonky Donk podcast is about, is that we look at the holes in the law and go, okay, if you were evil or you wanted to be corrupt, how could you get past this? And it's amazingly porous, all of it. That's we need the anti-terrorism AUMF that allows us to sprawl through other countries has to be stopped. We need to, as John Kerry viewed it, look at international terrorism as a criminal activity and react to it less emotionally and more effectively so that we can stop these as criminal organizations, put those people in jail and try them as such. And in the case of, the Soleimanis of the world, it needs to be very distinct that there's a difference between someone who is an elected or appointed member of a functioning government and the al-Baghdadis of the world or the El Chapos of the world, who I would put in a category together. You're right. We do need that. We got to take a break. I hope I didn't steamroll you too much, but I get where you're going on this. We'll be back. It's the Hal Sparks Radio program, Mega Worldwide on WCPT Radio. We'll be back right after this. 773-763-9278. Yeah.
Santita Jackson.
Talking about the Soleimani assassination and what it's going to mean.
Yeah, so the Wonky Dunk podcast. I'm actually, let's see if I can, if I'm that effective at the same time. There's YouTube, right? Broke that out. You are a squeaky man.
Sorry.
I'm getting you a gamer's chair for your birthday. Let's see. Documents, excellent. One second. Wonky. Donk. Winky. Dinky. Dog.
And what is that from?
It's from Hollywood Shuffle.
Oh, wow.
John Witherspoon.
Yeah.
Winky. Dinky. Dog. Winky Dinky Dog. I mean, this is my new one, Junior. You're not going to want to mess it out on. You got to get on the ground floor. It's going to be big with you. You're going to stick with you, Junior.
I'm going to just rip this Band-Aid off.
Coming back in 60, got 4 callers left.
Excellent. Winky, Dinky, hoe cake. Hoes got to eat. Hoes got to eat, Junior. Winky, Dinky, hoe cake. Going to be big. I love John Witherspoon. It was sad when he went.
Oh, yeah, he was cool.
Damn, so funny. You got to coordinate. You see the mushroom shirt and the mushroom belt. Wah! Oh, that was Boomerang. So good. Anyways, let's see. Where are we? Where are you? There it is. Okay, so there's that one. That's the one I want. Okay. Think. Mm-hmm. Let's see. No, it's not made for kids. There we go. Copy that.
Welcome back to the Hal Sparks radio program, Mega Worldwide. It's now time for the happy ending. Yay!
The happy ending is we got full phone line, so we're going to grab another one. Who do we have there that we can say hello to? Devin, who's there?
Next, we have Paul out in Seattle.
Excellent. Hey, Paul in Seattle.
How you doing, Hal?
I'm good. Go ahead.
I don't know I don't know if we're in disagreement. You see what you think, but
okay.
My slogan for the week on this is if I were Iran, I wouldn't trust the United States any farther than I could sling a camel turd. I mean,
sure.
Somebody already alluded to in the past 65 plus years, starting with the restoration of the House of Pahlavi, the Shah of Iran, Mohammed Pahlavi in 1953, who was a brutal dictator and a murderer, every bit as bad as Saddam was. And that's why there was the revolution and why they stormed the U.S. Embassy and took it over in 1979. Okay, so then you got in the 80s, the Iran-Contra was selling tow missiles to Iran while we're also arming Iraq with chemical weaponry.
Right.
Okay, so then you fast forward to the last 5 years, because this is important. While Obama is negotiating the nuclear agreement, a multinational nuclear agreement, Republican senators are sending Iran a letter, Tom Cotton and the wackadoodle Cotton, that this agreement isn't worth the paper it's printed on.
Right.
And then they'll come and pull out of it. So if I'm Iran, I'm thinking, well, you know what the U.S. is saying is as soon as Obama's out of there, they're going to pull out of this, and then they're going to attack us again. They're going to put sanctions on it. They're going to be hostile because, you see, if this agreement was in place, you can't attack. So you can't take Soleimani out while we're in a nuclear agreement.
Right.
And he's not making plans to kill Americans while they're in the agreement either. Otherwise, the agreement would be null and void automatically. So it was exactly the Republicans had it in mind.
Yeah.
Then they were telling us this 5 years ago. We want to keep hostilities with Iran because we want to be able to plan to attack them.
Right.
And yes, it was an assassination. And you know what? Alan Dershowitz I don't know why this guy has any respect anymore at all.
Because he leaves his underwear on. That's the only thing left. But go ahead.
Yeah. Well, he got his notoriety by getting a murderer off But
and being friends with Jeffrey Epstein. And
he said this was no different than taking out Osama bin Laden. It's a difference. Number one, Soleimani is a state official for a sovereign nation.
Right.
Osama bin Laden did not even have a nation. He was kicked out of Saudi Arabia. And not only that, he wasn't killed in a drone attack. Osama bin Laden was killed in a raid.
Yeah.
Where the Navy SEALs kicked in his door, and he went for a weapon, and that's when he was shot, just like the police would do.
Right.
They wanted to take him alive. It was nothing like taking out Osama bin Laden. So this is ridiculous.
I agree.
So it was a murder, and I'll make one more case here, and I know almost nobody will agree with this, but in terms of the airline, this can be as an analogy to what's called felony murder. The United States started this sequence of events in action, in play when it assassinated Soleimani. Iran retaliated, and within the sequence of events, this airliner took off and was accidentally shot down. Iran, now we know it was one of their TOW missiles, probably one that we sold to them back in the 80s. And
it was a Russian missile, insofar as we know.
Okay.
But yes,
it was a Russian missile.
Yeah.
Okay, but
still hear what you're saying. Yep.
If you go into if a bank robber goes into a bank to rob the bank, and the bank guard pulls his weapon and shoots at the robber, but hits an innocent person instead, and the innocent person dies, the bank robber is guilty of felony murder because he's the one who started the situation.
Yeah, it's the idea of if you're part of the robbery and someone gets killed in it, you're responsible for it as well. Like, yeah, that's I hear you on that part of it. There's a lot of moving parts in them shooting, them being the active choice to fire missiles during that period. It was more akin, less about the missiles that they fired and firing on that airliner, believing in theory, possibly knee-jerk reaction that they're being attacked. Because here it comes. We've been hearing about it forever. Our state TV and everybody's America's the great Satan. So why in the world would Satan show any pause in what he was doing? Why is the great Satan it's coming? If it's not today, it's tomorrow. If it's not tomorrow, it's tonight. And I think in terms of that fear, I think that's a legit fear on their part. Insofar as the culpability and that kind of legalese of it, I'm on the fence about. I hear where you're coming from on it. I will say the primary thing you and I do agree on is there is no material reason why the Iranians should trust or could trust the U.S. government, especially under this leadership. But even still, if they're going to undermine any deal that we make, the perfect deal could be presented to them in the next administration, and all they could say is, yeah, but for how long? Until you elect somebody who decides they don't like the last guy or the last woman, so they throw it out the window and start bombing us again. Again, the only way they're safe is if they have a nuke in their mind right now. And it's very difficult to make an argument against that, considering, look at Saddam Hussein versus Kim Jong-un. Un has weapons of mass destruction. Saddam Hussein did not. Saddam Hussein is dead. Kim Jong-un is getting his butt kissed by this president with great regularity. Excellent point. Appreciate the call, Paul. And I'm going to try and get one more caller in before the end. Who do we have, Devin? I think we have one more.
We have Alina out in Milwaukee.
Cool. Hey, Alina. Welcome.
Elena.
Okay.
I'll make my points really quickly. Trump already had his Benghazi, and the media's let it go, and the Democrats haven't known how to follow up on it, apparently. But a number of American military men were lost in Niger under very mysterious circumstances. That the administration covered it up, and it was clear that they were not properly protected in Niger. And one of them, in fact, was held apparently for days and tortured.
Yeah.
And then an American congresswoman from the state of Florida, whose name I cannot remember right now, tried to follow up. The Trump administration tried to destroy her character. Mm-hmm. So I think that this is something that we all should remember, that Trump has not done a good job of protecting our military men, and we shouldn't let this go.
Yeah, I agree. That's an excellent point, and I do think so much stuff becomes water under the bridge so quickly because there's always another horror right around the corner. That a lot of people, that feels like 1,000 years ago to them, and but it's not less true because of that time passing. I appreciate the call, Johnny Million. You're awesome. Thank you, brother. We'll see you next week. It's the House Radio Program, Mega Worldwide on WCPT Radio, Chicago's Progressive Talk. Thank you for the super chats, by the way. Those of you, let's see, I want to make sure I got it in there, but we had some just like great conversations in the chat room today, and I felt like because of what we were talking about, I missed some of it. So I'm going to talk about it in the post show. Stick around if you guys want at infotainmentwars.com, and I'll see you next week. Yep, and I don't know why. Well, thank you, Devin.
The history of Air America lives here. This is WCPT 820, Chicago's Progressive Talk.
There you go. And Johnny, have a fantastic Saturday.
You do the same. Stay warm and dry.
Oh, well.
It'll be easier for you.
Neither of those is really high on my list of states to be in. I'm not really an issue with it. But I have to stay warm because summer hates cold. So
there you go.
Yeah. But I've got a Nerd Halen tonight at the Gas Lamp in Long Beach. So we're very excited.
Hey, tear it up.
Yeah, it's going to be a good time. And I look forward to playing music with you in the near future.
It's got to happen.
Everybody's saying bye in the chat room. You're awesome.
Bye.
And no troll callers because I think we ran out of space. I think that's what it was. They called in at the tail end, but they didn't get it. Yeah.
I was ready for it, but nope, we made it through.
Yep. All right. Take care, man. Bye.
All right, man. Talk to you later.
Okay, bye.
Bye.
What's up, chat peoples? Hold on one second. I'm going to, the irony that Summer was trying to cool me off with the fan, and it was blowing right up my skirt. I was getting cold. It's good. So I'm actually in the process of, it's loading right now. It says got a couple more minutes left. It's uploading I'm going to turn this off too. The latest wonky donk. Got about 12 minutes left, so it should be done before we're done. To the for our lovely patrons, I'll let you guys know when it's done, and I'll do that. Republican callers have bad timing. It's true. Hal's wearing a kilt. I'm not currently wearing a kilt, or am I? I have a couple of great kilts, though. I will say that. Hey, that. Fan of the skirt. Hal, what do you say? Hal, how did you and Cam like Star Wars Rise of Skywalker? I had my usual Star Wars problems with it. Camden, this was a direct quote. It was cool. It was very exciting. He talks about some movies like he's a robot from another planet going, I understand, like he's, like, I understand what you like about this, and I can see why you would like it. Al Sparks, are you doing a PERT tribute tonight? I think we are. I think we're doing a piece of Spirit of the Radio, perhaps. Does a leather kilt exist? Of course it does. There are many demons that are alive while we impeach from one of them. We can't give Trump a second longer. Greed and pain is what feeds him out. I think he enjoys it. Yep. The hell is with the, let's see if I'm going to try and fix this while I'm at it. Why not? While I'm messing around with you guys, it's a good time anyways. Why the heck not? Try to maybe can I? No. Could I? Maybe? Yeah? No, it's on a different computer. All right, never mind. Thinking out loud. But anyways, we added another patron, which I appreciate you guys. That's fantastic. Stay on page. I can leave there. So we got 122 now. It's great. Our goal is 500. So fingers crossed. If If you feel like, over the course of the year, you want to hop on for a couple months and then hop off, I'm totally cool with that. If you think you can help, that's great. If you can't, there's lots of other ways, and it's just lovely to have you here. And I truly believe that. But thank you to the patron family, and I hope you guys are enjoying the wonky donk. Reminds me of a joke. Why do Scotsmen wear sheep know the sound of a zipper? Thanks. Your spirit of the radio rocks. Yeah, I've done it a couple of times. This will be the first time Nerd Halen is throwing a piece of it in there. Hey, Jude. Last time I managed to catch HSRPM live was in the U.S. in the middle of ending previous unnecessary war. Yeah, that's a rolling thing. Again, that goes to the AUMF. Listen to the wonky donk that I post. It's going to be posted this weekend, and you guys, we go through a bit of that. The alias you said to me, oh, yeah. Nightbot, what's your problem? I got to fix Nightbot. Apparently, he's an issue. He's got to. Nightbot, if you've got an issue, here's a tissue, right? Aw, look at that. Thanks for the, you got stickers. Look at that. Thanks, Grycicle. That's awesome. Break a leg, nerds. Ow, that both is lovely and stings. Kelly, thank you so much. Oh, cold-blooded. Break a leg, nerds. It's on. Oh, there we go. Commands, giveaways, some regulars. I don't know how to add that stuff. Then maybe you guys know. Integrations. Connect to your Discords. Command. Oh, so next week I'm going to have a Discord gathering too, patrons. I think it's going to be Wednesday. Yeah. So Wednesday, like 5 o'clock Pacific time. So put that in your book. Dashboard. Okay, there you go. I don't know how to do that part of it. I don't. It's very strange. I'm scrolling. Wonderful. I see you added more dates in April at Jimmy Kimmel's. Yeah, we're going to do it. I'm going to be at Kimmel's twice this year. It's pretty great. My daughter was sick with a migraine last week, and she looked like she was going to pass out. Oh, that's terrible. Migraines are rough. I've gotten them in the past. Nerd Halen is indeed awesome. It's a good time. We have a great time, actually. Oh, look at that. There's the chat. Look at that. Crazy. Thank you for the 999, by the way, Tricycle. 5 Pacific, yes. You can't have it on a day I'm not at the sale barn. Thanks. I seriously think you can sing Dio How. Indeed, I can, and it has been a dream of mine for a long time. And I put it in my goals for this year to re-record a version of the Stars song, the hearing aid song, Stars, which was it's kind of like the heavy metal We Are the World, which has a bunch of different singers in it, but Dio was the driving force behind that. And I wanted to recreate that song from scratch, play all the instruments, and sing all the voices and all the different vocal styles that I can sing. Sing the Jeff Tate parts like Jeff Tate and the Dokken parts like Dokken and all that kind of stuff, and sing Dio in it, So I've been wanting to do that for a long time. It's sort of a pocket thing. It's just, yeah, pretty, you know. Okay. Let's see. Richard Custer. Look at that. Richard Custer won the giveaway. Thanks, Nightbot. Cool. I think Richard, I've got your address in the patrons thing. So I'm trying to start doing little contests and stuff in here. So I might be sending you something sweet in the mail. So Richard gets that one. There you go. Congratulations. It says messages. I don't know how to do that. So I don't know how it works in that regard, but there you go. And let's see. Can I do multiple ones? Is that what happens? And Amy got one too. There you go. So two of the, so excellent. So Richard Custer and Amy. Good for you. Yay. Yeah, I'm just trying this on for, so I'm not quite sure what we can send, but we will send it. Oh, congrats. You know, like Star Wars franchise is going to hell since Disney took over it. I don't know. I think it's who they handed it off to, because they obviously did great stuff with the Avengers stuff. I just think it's the, you know, what they're working with. You're on Disney Plus. I know, that's so awesome. We're very excited. So if you have Disney Plus, all the Lab Rats are on there. It's pretty great. How you triggered my Siri twice today. She just tried to sing. Did you stop by CES? This is the third time I wasn't in it. Yeah, no, I was going to, but it's just been far, far too busy. So hold on. Oh, this app likes to pop stuff out. Can I pop this chat out? Yeah. There we go. Put this over here. Move this over here. Make it much bigger. Excellent. Yeah, so all the Lab Rats are on there. It's pretty amazing. How the best way to watch any movie in a theater now is with Dolby surround sound with AMC recliner chairs. Also, they have volt charging stations. You can charge your electric car as you watch. Yeah, that's fairly sweet. I would agree. Hold on. Let me see if I can. Maybe it's this one. Maybe that's how I. Perhaps I can see if there's a. This might be a mistake, but we'll find out. We'll try and not show everything. That's the hard part on what it means to. Let's see. Yeah, I'll do it this way. Because if I want to put the chat up on the screen, like there's no loading page on eCam, which is the hard part of. Does this work? We're gonna find out. Yeah, kinda. Oh, it's multiple screens. That's why it gets lost. All right. I was hoping it'd be this one. That's not good. Double. What are you doing? Show Safari. That's it, the live chat. There we go. Look at that. Hey. What's happening? Thank you, Can't Stop Lying, and reminding everybody, smash that like. Appreciate it. That's fantastic. Now do we, let's see, go over to here to this guy and blow that up. There you go. Look at that. What? You can win things now? I'll be here next week. Yes, you will be. We're going to start putting some stuff out for folks. Fox is now the War Crimes Network. Well, you mean they're selling it, or at this point, they just don't care. So, hi, everybody. Yeah, wave. I got to be careful about this stuff. I started a new program on my workout stuff. So the next 8 weeks are going to be brutal. Gotta get some howling motes. I know. The Kathy, the Twitch stuff is so sweet, and there's so much nice, you know. I think I qualify now. I think I can actually do that. I just have to figure out how to work it out. But how we gotta get you your yeah. I don't know how why am I emoteless? Who can connect with you on Discord? Hal, are those only patrons with the higher contribution? No, Liberty, you can. Everybody gets a Discord level. There's just smaller groups. So on the regular Discord, you get access to that through that. So you're already in there, I think. So how can you make the ball bounce as you read each text? It's like a sing along. Right. Yeah, make my head bounce along. Yeah, you know what? Asking ye shall receive. Hold on. Sorry, the late response. LOL. How can you bounce the ball as you read each text? It's like a sing along. LOL. You can't do the sing along of that one, Amos. That would be. GV, thanks. Getting seasick. Oh. It says in the Patreon app that there's a Discord group, but I don't see a link. Oh, okay. I think I posted it in a post, but yeah. I'll work on that because I'm just starting to get the use of that this year, so I'm figuring it out. Yeah. So there you go. What time is Nerd Halen going on tonight? We're going at 10. Was gifted 2 tickets to see Margaret Cho at Brea Improv. Amy. Oh, okay, there you go. Well, she'll probably go on about at the exact same time. So go see her and then come see us at another show. Hal, did Cam give you his $2 bill? Oh. No, Camden keeps all of his money. I am still flying. Great show. Batman Bruce, gotta listen live. Oh, I'm glad. Yeah. Oh, there's Rob. Yeah, that's right. Hey, Rob Glenn. Thank you, Mr. Wayne. I'm building something for you that I think you'll enjoy. We're going to have to make 70,000 of them to hide them. So it just looks like any other Amazon product. Speaking of fit, where do you fall on the chained and unchained fat tissue, aka Saturday? I think a lot of the languaging around fat as far as food sources is highly overplayed, overrated, however you want to put that. And that the ability to, there's a mix of things. We didn't used to be able to track certain diseases because we had no way of looking. And so some of it may have happened before we shifted the kind of dietary attitudes in the country. And then after it shifted, when people got sick of something, we kind of blame the shift. So I don't think that's 100% fair. I do think, though, that salt and fat have gotten a bad rap. But everything in moderation is what it is, I think I bumped off. You're there. I see you. Sun saturated the best, speaking as a chemist. Yeah, you don't if you can get pure fats from a single source, that's the best case scenario. And single non-recurring happy ending. Along with the Impossible Burger, now they get ready to roll out the Impossible Bacon. Yeah. Does that mean you can eat bacon and eggs? Yes. Although the eggs are a better source than the others. You're talking to a dude who drinks raw eggs, so. Apparently sugar is worse than fat in people's diets. Yes, this is true. Because sugar makes you make your own fat. That's the issue. It triggers an insulin response. And the insulin response, we're beating our pancreases to death. Again, I'm not a doctor. It's just my own personal experience. But what I did start doing recently, and I don't know if you can see, but it's hard to even tell in this lighting or whatever, but I have started adding meat up here finally. And there's a big chunk of it that I'm trying to, over the next 8 weeks, I have a plan to use the same kind of thing and push it forward some. So I guess I'm going to be sore at any given point. But that idea, like just adding that, is super important. Bacon has chemical issues. Give uncured side pork a try. Yes. Some sick minds over at Fox Wars Pieces. War is peace, freedom is slavery, ignorance is strength. Yes. Amos, yeah, you'll get no disagreement there. You're correct about sugar. Yeah. 3 kinds of fat: white, beige, and brown fat. Yeah, that's in your own body. Yeah. Hellspark's booby booster. That's right. Sugar will cause your body to store fat. This is true. Rain was nuts earlier. My fine. The Impossible Burgers are delicious. We had them again last night. Yeah, they're great. What do you bench for working sets, Hal? I can do 215 fairly regularly, but I'm specializing in these kind of fly moves right now. So I dropped the weight a little bit. So I'm doing reverse pyramid, 70-pound dumbbells, which I guess on a bar would be 120 plus the bar. But when it's, loose weights, it's slightly different because you're using different compensating muscles. So I'm doing 70, 65, 60, and doing sets of 12 in between other stuff that I'm doing. So that's the part that I've added. The screen is killing my eyes. Text is a blur. You're a blur, blurry. I'm sorry. You ever taken supplements, Hal? Yeah. I'll do creatine, for example. But I hit it dry. I don't, like some people mix it into a drink, but you lose so much of it and it's flavorless. So I'll just literally throw the little scoop of it in my mouth and it's just like powder, and then I'll drink something and it's gone. I got slammed into a fence at work by a 450-pound calf. She was pissed off. You never know. Wait, wow. Yeah, the Impossible Burgers are great. What's on the screen, is that real time? Yes, it is, which makes me worry that I should probably turn it off, because if people start going, oh, look what I could get away with saying. So that being said, is it command? Is that what it does? No. I got to figure it out how to do this. Did you hear Newsom wants to gut the mental health program supporting homeless housing for homeless, which would create more homeless because there's no support? I don't know that he wants to gut it. I don't know that that's his goal. Suddenly you're gone from all the way up to work fund. Oh, yeah. Oh, thanks. TLK Knitting, that's so great. Became a patron. That's so oh, thank you. That's awesome. I whacked a bad guy, now give me a peace prize. Yeah, that's the amazing part, that this dude wanted the Nobel Peace Prize and saying he deserved it right after. Hal, are the Impossible Burgers really good? Thinking about getting one for $8. I've enjoyed them a lot. Yeah. Hey, it's Mr. Davenport. What's happening? Yeah, shipped to Vegas in a cardboard and styrofoam box with dry ice. Oh, right. Prefer the BK tacos myself. That seems weird. Burger King and tacos, it's just very strange. Bad part about the Impossible Burgers is the bun. Yeah, that's the irony, is that bread is the bigger problem most of the time with burgers, and the combination of bread and meat. Not even going to try Impossible meat. You know what I'm looking forward to is the is not the Impossible Burgers, but the which have been great, is the clean meat when it comes. That idea I'm very excited about. Do I support Iran? I support the Iranian people. Not a fan of the government. Does that make sense? I have a lot of Persian friends in LA. And like I said, like I tweeted earlier, as a Freemason, I have Iranian brothers who can't, Masonry is outlawed in Iran, so they have to meet outside the country in exile. So I support them being able to be themselves in their own country one day. Oil, mayo, that's great. No bad oils. Oh, avocado. I made avocado oil mayo. That's great. No bad oils. That's great. Been around just multitasking. Hi, Ginger. That's great. I mean, you. How you want a job at the sale barn? You can airplane a 400 calf. That means wrestle it. Oh, I can airplane a 450-pound calf. Sure. Yes, me too. I don't even support the U.S. government half the time. Well, it's it's half the actions. You know what I mean? That's where these kind of like generic statements always get lost on me in that regard. So I'm way too Libra for that kind of talk. It's so funny because I'm. All right. That's right. Lodge 42. Hold on. Let's see if I can source. Turn that off. There we go. So back to normal. I didn't want you guys to have to. Look at that. And a split camera. No. This one? Yeah. Look how weird and orange this one is. I feel like, folks, the new light bulbs, okay, made me look old and orange and puffy. I look very puffy and orange and puffy. So, yeah, hold on. There we go. I'm going to pop this guy out. I thought Russia backed Iran in Syria. They do. You're the Librist Libra I know, and my bestie is a Libra. Yeah, it's true. Remember the Iranian leadership was because the Dulles brothers conned Eisenhower into helping the British overthrow Mossadeg's Iran democratically elected leader in 1953. This is true. We talked about that a little bit earlier in the show, and this kind of idea that, like, when the CIA overthrew, I'm like, guys, stop oversimplifying. It's not even the same people at the CIA now, much less the same government or the same country or the same ideas or the same people. Mossadegh was a monster, and they thought it was a good idea at that time. Yeah. It is the Trump cam. That's what that one is. Looks like your camera attempted a proper white balance. Yeah, it's the one on. It's the Max Own, and I'm not quite sure why that is. I mean, look at it. It's ridiculous. Like, that's absurd. I don't. Yeah. Oh, let's see. There's a lot of stuff. Turn the gamma down. Turn the saturation down a touch. Look how grainy that thing is. Just does not like it. Why don't I just turn myself green or pink? Ridiculous. Put it dead center. Take the temperature. A little better, maybe. Brightness up a touch. There we go. Take this guy down. Zoomy. Hello. It's very scary. Who is it? Who are you? What are you doing? Why you follow me around? This is my own version of Gaslight. Mm-hmm. My own husband is torturing me. Way. Sorry. Okay. Enough of that. Sorry. All right. Now, still not even close. Look at that. Pitiful. All right. What are you going to do? All right, Logitech Brio. This is also zoomed too far out. I don't know why that is either. Hello. All right, now I fixed that. That was worth it, wasn't it? How you make a great saddle bronc rider. I could ride. It's a good time. It's like those filters you get on Instagram. That's right. The gamma is weird. It's actually better for a minute. Yeah, for a minute. Then compared to the other one, this is the Brio. Thanks, patrons. This is the one that actually works. This is the sweet one. Let's see. Impossible work. I don't know. For now, I'll consider it in the same manner as Hot Pocket spam and that 90s food replacement stuff. Oh, the Olestra? Yeah. Oh, that's a good idea. We should I'll just make that the sepia tone camera. It's also very tilted. It's very strange that way. When I don't have my backlight on, maybe that's why it's overreacting. That could be it. Who can say? But if we just, I'll just take the, oh wait, what's camera options? What's that? What? What did you say? I don't know. What were you talking about? Well, why don't you ask me? I thought something, it was like, wrong. Yes, it's true. The deinterlace thing doesn't work. So we just, yeah, if we want to make it sepia tone, just take the tint and there's a yellow. This should be about here, and then just saturate the crap out. Well, I'm glowing. Now it's all like, ugh, terrible. Reset. Oh, I thought about it for a second. It's a little better. Maybe? Is it? Huh? Maybe. Oh, my girl's back. You can hear it because I have my hello. I'm post showing. Why? Because what? Oh, right. Very exciting. Do you want to come up and tell them what we did? All right. There's a lot to talk about. It's very exciting. Logitech makes good computer peripherals like the G4, the 13 mechanical keyboards. Looks like a typical keyboard with LED lighting and gaming bells and whistles. Yeah, well, before I ended up with the this little Stream Deck thing for doing the camera switchers, which I now have to add sounds to because that's the next big thing that I'm going to do on this thing. Is I got this mouse, one of the because it had all these buttons on the side of it that I could program, and then as soon as I got it home, the software it wasn't available for Mac. So you had to buy patch software, and then I would spend all day patching it, and then the Stream Deck came out, and I was like, I've been dumb for a week. But the Stream Deck thing is just a winner across the board. That's the shizzle. So anyways, my girl is home, and we have to hit the road because I'm driving into LA today to do the show tonight. So off I go. Again, 5 o'clock Wednesday for the patrons on the Discord. Thanks TLK Knitting for becoming a patron today. That was really spectacular. And where are they? The scripts situation are finally going out. Look at that. Thomas Rock and Michael and Jack and Kelly and Kim Mayer. These are the scripts. They're finally going out. Very excited. So I block say it. I'm not in the mood. So thank you. We got a long drive ahead of us. 5 o'clock Wednesday, patrons in the Discord. I'll do a whole post about it that day to tell you how to get in there and all that kind of stuff. I'll try to join Wednesday. I'm usually driving home from Long Beach at 5. I think you can. I might be able to make you a voice chatter in that, Carl. I have to figure out how to do that. Again, this is me exploring this. So there you go. But yeah, and Richard and Amy won our little giveaway today, and I think I know I have both their addresses, so we're cool. So anyways, you guys are awesome. Yes, patches had to be ordered because we ran out. So there's more, and I'm very much a nerd. It's true, but like the cool kind. So anyways, hopefully we'll see some of you guys tonight. And if not, have fun at Margaret Cho. All right, I'm signing off. Cheers, everybody. Take care of yourself and take care of somebody else. Bye.